Most founders, when they get started in business, think, I know what I need to do. I need to push sales and marketing as much as I possibly can. And they try and get as many people in to find out about their stuff. And they sell it and they think that that's it. And you know what it is? I just need to keep pushing sales and marketing over and over again. And they end up tying themselves into this loop of business, which is just so difficult to break out of. The reason why is because they build their business from front to back instead of back to front. Now, I'm going to explain this concept as simply as I possibly can. When you have a business, it's broken down into basically 3 main stages. You've got marketing, sales, delivery, okay? Most people, when they think about business, they start and they focus a lot of their attention on they have a brief idea. And then immediately they're like, okay, I've got an idea. I'm going to go into marketing, sales, and then I'll worry about delivery at the end. But what they really should do is that they should try and crack delivery first. And what I mean by that is that LTV is lifetime value, right? And that's a really important concept. So lifetime value. And that basically just means how much a customer will pay you over the time that they interact with your business. Now, let's say I have a product which is an iPad, right? Now, it's just a tablet, let's call it, just to make it really, really simple. If I have just one tablet that I'm trying to sell to people, the way that my business is set up is that my tablet costs £500, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to market it and I'm going to tell people, buy this tablet, buy this tablet, buy this tablet. And I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it successfully. So people come and they buy the tablet, and my entire life now becomes just trying to get as many people to find out about this tablet and trying to sell as many of these as I possibly can. Yeah. Now, that's okay, but it's very, very difficult to maintain. The reason why is because it costs time and effort to get a customer and convert a customer. And it costs more money and more time than you probably think. Okay? So what smart business owners do is that they build their business backwards and they focus on delivery first. And what I mean by focus on delivery first is that they focus on the LTV that each customer gets them. So that means that they try and figure out how they can get a customer to pay them as much as they possibly can. And let me give you a real-time example. Instead of just selling a tablet, what Apple have done so successfully is that they sell a tablet. They sell a brand, basically. That's what they do, right? They sell a brand of products that make your life easier. So I've got a tablet. I've got an iPhone. I've got a MacBook, yeah? And every year or every couple of years, they come out with a new product and people buy these things over and over again. And that's how they increase their LTV, their lifetime value, right? Now I'll give you another example of different companies that do this. Starbucks have an LTV of $14,000 per customer, $13,000 or $14,000 per customer, which means that as soon as they get a customer into their ecosystem, they know that they're going to buy over and over again. Oh, I just need a coffee. I'm just going to go and buy, right? Don't get me involved in all the controversial stuff. I'm just talking strictly business right here. So the point is that when it comes to business, you want to try and figure out, how can I get a customer to pay me over and over and over and over again? Yeah? Can you imagine if McDonald's could only sell to their customers once? How would you even sustain that? It's the repeat customers that come over and over again that probably drive the bulk of McDonald's business. Yeah? And that's how all businesses go. Yeah? Even for us as coaching, if I only had one-off packages and I sold them every single month, I would have to find new customers. Yeah? But I can sell a customer and keep that customer for, let's say, 12 months. Yeah? And now next month, instead of me just thinking constantly and keeping myself up and thinking, I need to make a sale, I can rest easy knowing that if I sell and I get to my capacity, I might be good for another 12 months and I don't need to focus on sales. And instead I can focus on my delivery, I can focus on my operations, I can focus on going up market or whatever the hell I want, because I'm not in this constant cycle of needing to sell. Yeah. So you might be sitting there thinking okay, G, I get it. I need to focus on LTV. I should build my business back to front and focus on trying to make each customer worth more rather than trying to get loads and loads of customers in. Try and make each customer worth more. But you're okay, G, I get it, but I don't know how, right? Don't worry. In this video, I'm going to break down 3 main ways that you can increase your LTV, okay? So let me get really clear on what these 3 different ways are. Number 1 is you get your customers to stay longer. Number 2, you get your customers to pay you more. And number 3, you decrease your fulfillment costs, okay? Super simple. It's not anything complicated, but I'm going to break it down to make it even more actionable for you, okay? So I'm going to give you some really tangible ways that you can start to implement this advice. So if you want your customers to stay longer, there's 3 key things I recommend. Firstly, you actually get a great onboarding experience, which means that you get your customers to feel amazing within the first 48 hours of their purchase, and as a result, they're going to be much more likely to buy from you. Okay? Things that I recommend that you do: confirmation emails. You give them a call, a personalized text, a personalized video. You set them up with something that actually makes them feel like, yes, this person actually cares about my goals. This person actually cares about what I'm trying to achieve with this product or service. You give them as much personalized stuff as possible that also relates to them, firstly being a human being, but also moving towards their goal. That's the first thing. The second thing to increase retention is to increase your billing cycles. So instead of getting people to pay monthly, for example, you get them to pay quarterly or yearly. They say that the data indicates that if you get someone to pay quarterly instead of monthly, you half churn, yeah? Which means that your customers will stay with you twice as long. Deep that for a second. Imagine a customer over the lifetime pays you £5,000. If you change their billing from monthly to quarterly, they'll pay you £10,000 on average. And then on top of that, if you change it from quarterly to yearly, it'll double it again. So instead of paying £5,000 at monthly, it'll be £10,000 a quarterly, and it'll be £20,000 a yearly. That's a big, big jump. Okay, so start to bill for longer billing cycles where possible. The reason why this happens is because every time someone gets billed, they think, was the last month worth it? Was the last month worth it? And what we need to do is make sure that people have got more data and more time to look back on, because let's say you have 1 month that's a bit rocky, but then the next month was amazing. You want them to consider the whole 3-month window or the whole 12-month window, and they're going to use that as data for them to decide whether or not they should buy again. So if you give them more data points, if you're actually good at what you do, that's going to be more beneficial. If you're bad at what you do, it's going to have the reverse effect. If you ask someone for 12 months and then like literally they're not even going to make it to the next 12 months, they're not even going to make it to the billing cycle, they're like, this is rubbish, I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah, but if you're good at what you do, it's actually going to give you more data points. Yeah, it's going to give you more time to build a better experience and better relationship. So that's point number 2. Number 3, and by the way, I'm just looking at some notes because I want to make sure you get all the information here. Number 3 that I recommend that you do is you add in identity-based branding. Okay, we have branding. You might see on our logo is a lion. We want killers. We want people that are like focused. We want people that are disciplined. We want people that are ambitious. Yeah, that's the type of people that we want to work with. Okay. The reason why we have that type of branding is because people feel at home. They're like, G matches my ambition, or he exceeds it. And I'm like, okay, great. Like, I'm going to encourage them to lean into that identity more. So when people think about the identity, they're like, okay, if I think about me being ambitious, the only person I can speak to about me being ambitious is G. Yeah, like that's the identity that I associate with, and I want to have more of that identity. So people stay with us for longer because they want that identity. I know that for Apple, I'm not a Samsung user, man. I'm sorry. It's just not me. I don't like the look of it. I don't like the feel of it. I think that it's clunky. I think it's old school. And I don't want that branding. I don't want that identity. I also don't want people to look at me that way. So I keep buying Apple products. Yeah, identity-based branding, and I'm gonna keep buying them for the rest of my life, basically, because I can't imagine moving to something else. Yeah, because that's the brand that's been instilled in my brain. So these are 3 different ways you can get customers to stay longer. Increase your LTV. And by increasing LTV, that's going to make you more money. But the next one's actually an easier way to make even more money. Just before you continue with the video, I want to let you know about something free that we're offering, which is a scaling roadmap. Most entrepreneurs struggle to grow their business because they don't know what they should be focused on. However, we've helped to solve this problem by taking all the knowledge that we've got from the hundreds of entrepreneurs that we've worked with, and we've condensed it into one roadmap that you can get that's personalized for you. So if you want to get really clear on what you need to do to scale to 10, 20, 50, even 100K a month, then I strongly recommend you go and check out the free scaling roadmap that we've got below, and that's going to give you the exact steps that you need to scale your business. Anyways, that's it from me. Back to the video. The second section is going to be about getting customers to pay you more. Now, you'll be surprised at how effective this section will be for pretty much every single business in the world. Okay. Now, first thing is increasing pricing, right? If you want your customers to pay you more, literally ask them to pay you more. Okay. Most people don't increase their pricing because they're scared of what their customers might say. They're like, oh, what if they don't like it? Well, then just test it. Okay. You don't know what they're gonna like. Some people might even consume your stuff more because the price is higher. Some people might engage with you more because your price is higher and they think, oh, this guy must really know what you're talking about. You might even be able to deliver a better service because they pay you more, and you can take a cut of that better pay and you can reinvest it into your service and make your service better. Yeah. So don't be afraid of raising your prices. just test things, okay? And by raising your prices, people will just pay you more, okay? If I am offering a service for $397 a month and I then increase my prices to $497 a month, if on average people stay with me for a year and I just added an extra £100 to my price, right? That means that over a year I will get paid £1,200 more per customer, okay? That's huge on the LTV point, yeah? Huge, okay? But people, do they do it? Do they increase their price? No, because they're scared. And they haven't actually done the testing to figure out whether or not this is actually going to be feasible, okay? One other thing, just as a caveat, if you're increasing pricing, a lot of the time people think, oh, if I increase my pricing, everything should be fine and customers are going to stay just as long. However, if you're worried about customers not staying longer and they're going to churn, what I recommend is that, like I said, firstly, test different pricing, okay? And secondly, make your service or product better so you can afford to charge better things. Yeah? It's not rocket science. But if you want to get paid more, make your service better so that people are willing to pay more. Crazy, I know. Trust me. But anyways, the next thing, the number 2, is going to be adding in upsells or cross-sells or add-ons to your service. I had a client, right? I have a client that is selling a £500 a month thing. And I was like, okay, but do people often want other things? And he's like, yeah, but I don't really want to do them. I was like, okay, why do you not want to do them? He's just like, it's just a bit of a hassle. I was like, okay, how much would it cost you? Or how much would someone have to pay you for you to say yes? And one of the things was running Facebook ads. And I was like, how much would someone have to pay you for you to run ads for them? And he's like, oh, if someone paid me £500, I'd absolutely do it. I was like, well, then why don't you just add an upgrade for £500 a month to run their ads? And he was like, yeah. And it's literally like, you need one person to buy that. And basically what we then did is we created a menu of different items that he knew that he was very confident in terms of delivery, but he just never figured out his pricing. And because he didn't figure out his pricing, he just decided not to sell any of that stuff. Okay. So what we did is we created that menu of pricing. And what we found is that there's he was originally selling a £500 a month service. With the menu, there was about £1,000 to £1,500 of extra MRR he could be adding per client. Yeah. So one customer that comes in and says that, I want your services, that would originally pay £500 a month. That customer, if he says like, yeah, I want this and I want that and I want that, he could end up paying $2,000 a month because he had more options, because he had things that he could actually send to. If you don't even give someone the option to get these different things, people aren't going to buy them. Yeah. You have to have upsells. You have to have things that you can look up to and be like, okay, yes, I can get a customer onto this plan because they also expressed interest in these different things. Yeah. So these are really, really key things to just keep in mind. Okay. Now, the next thing that I want to add into this is similar to like the menu of different items that you can add to your business that literally hopefully cost you very little time and effort to deliver. Another thing that you can add to this is a big service. And what I mean by this is like, if you got a service which is like $2,000 a month, right? Add a $10,000 a month service just to see if anyone buys it, okay? And worst case, it price anchors them, right? And you don't even have to sell it, but it literally just, it opens up your mind to what you could potentially price at. And sometimes you're going to get whales that come into your business. They're going to be these people, these giants in business that have got money to spend. And if you put the right offer in front of them for a lot of money, they might be like, yeah, absolutely, I'll take that. Yeah. But you're never going to give yourself the opportunity to get paid more if you don't give the opportunity for people to pay more. Yeah. You have to have offers where people are going to be willing to actually spend. So whatever your most expensive thing is, I would say 5x that price and add that and come up with a service that is going to be at that price. Then when you go into a sales call, you can often lead with that and then be like, hey, by the way, this is the price for our service. Is that what you want to be in? Is that something that you'd be interested in? Be like, oh, no, that's way too expensive. Be like, okay, well, this is all the list that it comes with. However, if you want, you can go for this package, which is obviously a lot more feasible in terms of pricing. Is that all right? And them seeing something that's a fifth of the price, again, it really helps because if they see something that's a fifth of the price, they might be like, oh, actually, that's a lot more reasonable. That's a lot more within our budget. I want to go for something like that. But the trick here is that if you have something that's 5 times more the service and someone buys it, great. But if they don't buy it, if you then change your services, so let's say this is a £10,000 a month thing and this is £2,000 a month thing, and they see the £10,000 a month thing, and then you're like, okay, well, that's not for you. if you see the £2,000 a month thing, they might be like, okay, that's fine, but you can increase your prices to £2,500, right? And their reference point is the £10,000 now, okay? If you try and do two services for £2,000 and £2,500, the reference gets a little bit muddy. Yeah, it's like, oh, that's actually quite a big increase. But if you anchor it to something that's much bigger, £2,500 doesn't seem like that big compared to £2,000. Yeah, because you're thinking about the £10,000 and you're like, oh, it's still only a fraction of that price. Yeah, so it's a very, very powerful technique to get people to pay you more. Okay. And obviously, like I said, the easiest way to get people to pay you more is to be better, so that people are willing to pay you more, and they'll be happy to pay you more. Now, the third section is about making your customers cost less for you to deliver. Okay. So what I mean by this is, let's say I've got a coaching service and every session is completely different, which means that only I can run it, and my hourly rate is like 5 times what a beginner coach's hourly rate might be. Okay. If that's it and it's only me that can do that, then that's going to be much harder for me to be able to scale, okay? But if I productize my coaching and I've got a really specific path that all my coaching sessions follow, I can then hire a coach and say, hey, just follow this stuff. If a customer brings up this issue, just go through this framework with them, yeah? I've productized a service, which means that I can charge a lot less per hour to actually make that delivery process seamless. Okay, so for example, let's actually play that out. Let's say, for example, theoretically, I'm charging £100 per hour, and I then hire someone that costs £20 an hour. Okay, if I'm delivering, it costs £100 an hour, it costs the business £100 an hour, which is really expensive because I've got all these like little niche things that I'm doing, and it's really varied from call to call. But if I then productize that and I give it to someone else, and let's say I'm doing 100 hours of coaching a month, right? 100 times £100 an hour is £10,000 a month just to pay me. But instead, I pay someone else who costs £20 an hour, and they do 100 hours. That's £2,000. Yeah. So instead of paying me £8,000, I can pay someone else £2,000 to literally do the exact same work. Okay. Because now I've productized my service. An £8,000 saving a month because you've productized something. Pretty good. Yeah. Now, obviously, it varies business to business and service to service, but you can see how this concept can apply to different businesses. The more specific you get with the exact thing that you sell, the easier it is to distribute, and you have less cost in terms of like, oh, well, this person was doing this thing and that person was doing that thing, and that customer had a different experience because of X, Y, and Z. It's like you want to make it as simple as you can, because then your selling can be simpler, your delivery can be simpler, customer support can be simpler, and customers are also probably more likely to stay for longer. Yeah. So first thing, to decrease your cost to deliver, productize your actual delivery. Okay. Now the third bit of advice on this is one of my favorite bits, and it's actually qualifying your customers better. Okay. So if you want to decrease how much a customer costs you, you can probably think about a couple customers that have been really problematic, they've been really annoying to deal with, that, ask you a ton of questions, that have got really like loads of support questions, and you're like, I just don't want to get a negative review, so I've got to deal with all their problems. And the question is that if you qualified the customer better before they use your service, could you just avoid them using your service and you wouldn't have to deal with a crap customer? Probably yes. Yeah, I know that from a coaching point of view. I've had customers that I didn't like dealing with, right? And as soon as I got into that process, and it wasn't even about the questions, sometimes it's just about attitude. Sometimes it's just about laziness from the customer's end. And you're like, okay, this guy shouldn't be using my services. And because he is, it's taking up loads of my time. Yeah. Or it's costing us more resources or whatever, right? We're having to build all these different features into our service because this person is just a crap client. And it's like, okay, great. Can you just get rid of the client so you can simplify your service? One of my highest paying customers for coaching literally was, he actually was such a dream to work with, and he still is a dream to work with, right? Literally barely any communications outside of sessions. He took everything in like a sponge. He came prepared to the sessions, and it was just so easy to work with him. Now I had people paying half of what he was paying, and they were asking for double the amount of time, and they were bombarding me with questions between sessions, and they're doing all these different things, and I was like, I just need to stop working with people that haven't sold anything, that are really early stage in business, and focus on working with people that are more developed, because I get a lot less questions from people that are more developed. Yeah, I get a lot less like sporadicness and panic when people are more developed. And by now increasing the qualification of my customers, I've actually made it a lot cheaper for me to deliver for my customers. Okay, so this is a third way that you can make your customers cost you less. Now, if you enjoyed this, I've got 2 quick bonuses that you can add to this to increase your LTV in a little bit more of a niche way, right? The first way is you can get your customers to give you referrals. If every customer that I get brings me 1 new customer, they've actually doubled their LTV. Think about that for a second. They've paid me not just for themselves, but also for the new customer that they bring into the business, which is amazing, okay? The second thing that you can do is you can get them testimonials from them, which means that every customer that comes in, it actually adds to your credibility, which is probably going to make it easier for you to sell, which again is going to make your customers stay with you for longer because they're going to think, oh, well, this guy actually knows what he's talking about. So I'm going to stay with this guy because he actually knows how to solve my problems because he's got so many great testimonials. Yeah, which obviously works if you know what you're talking about, but it doesn't really work if you don't know what you're talking about. But it is something that I think is really effective for making your sales process easier and also building that rapport and trust with your customers. Okay, so those are the 2 bonus tips. So final thoughts, just before you go into your sales and lead gen and think, I just need to focus all my time and attention on this, don't. Focus on building up your LTV first so that when you do capture a customer, you absolutely make the most of them instead of them just coming in and churning out and coming in and churning out and you're just playing this catch-up game the rest of your life. Yeah. Now, if you find this useful and you want to see more videos like this, then definitely check out one of these 2 videos here. And if you've got any other questions, then leave them in the comments. I'd love to have a chat with you and see if there's anything else that I can do to help you scale your business.